Hello, Eagle fans. Jonathan Duran coming to you from the NCCU Sports Network studio. We're doing something a little bit different this week as the Eagles get ready for their first home game against Winston-Salem State. That game coming up September 18th at 6 p.m. Hopefully you're listening to this in the afternoon before the game, as this is going to be our pregame show for the Eagles game against Winston-Salem State. Glad to have you with us here from the studio, as we are not going to be having this game on our website linearly on the NCCU Sports Network. It will be carried exclusively on ESPN+, and since we won't have our NCCU Sports Network broadcast, still doesn't mean that we can't have a pregame show. We've got our usual interviews, as always, with the head coach, Trei Oliver, and our keys to the game with our offensive and defensive coordinators, our offensive coordinator, Matt Leone, and defensive coordinator, Juan Navarro. You'll hear from them, as they talk about what the Eagles need to do to be successful. But let's go ahead and circle in on today's game. As North Carolina Central is finally at home. This is week 3 in total for them since they played in week 0. They were successful against Alcorn State in the MEAC-SWAC Challenge, 23-14. Davius Richard, over 240 yards of total offense, offensive MVP. And Manny Smith with the fumble recovery, quite a handful of tackles, the defensive MVP. And the Eagles took the show on the road last week against Marshall. Fell there 44-10, but 2 interceptions from the defense. One of them went for 96 yards, and you'll hear from Coach and saying, hey, I really wish that it would have gone the extra yardage to get into the end zone. But you'll get a chance to hear from him himself. The Eagles taking on Winston-Salem State for the first time in a while. This series is tied at 22 wins apiece. The winner today will take the lead in the season series. The last time these two teams met was a week ago, 11 years ago, September 11th, 2010, and it was the Rams who snuck away with a 34-27 win here at O'Kelly Riddick Stadium. The Eagles will look to right that wrong today against the Rams. And here is head coach Trei Oliver talking about last week against Marshall and looking ahead against Winston-Salem State. Coach, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, Coach. Well, the Eagles played their second game of the year, second game away from home, went up to Marshall. Didn't have the best result for North Carolina Central, but what did you gain out of that contest for the Eagles?
Well, it confirmed a couple of things I already knew about our team. I knew that we were going to fight hard and, we're going to play for 60 minutes. Now I was a little disappointed in our execution offensively. I didn't think that we sustained drives and kept the chains moving, which in turn put our defense, in a tough position. We were on the field, I think, for roughly about 108 plays defensively, which is way too many plays to be playing. But it was some positives we took out of the game. We knew we were playing an outstanding team in Marshall, and we were going to have to play, a mistake-free game and make plays. And I don't think we did that. So, unfortunately, it didn't end up how we wanted. But, it's one game. We're going to put that behind us, and we're looking forward to Winston-Salem next week.
Coach Mookie Collier gets into the end zone in his home state from the school that he transferred from. What was the emotions like on the sideline when he was able to score?
Well, it wasn't. I don't really look at who's scoring and how what it means to them and all that stuff. It's about guys doing their job and scoring touchdowns, making plays, making tackles. But he's an outstanding young man and a great football player. I'm so happy he's part of the program. He's type kid that we want in our program. But last year he had a huge season. 19 where, we said all he does is score touchdowns whenever he gets the ball. So I think he's kind of picking up right where he left off. But he's a powerful back, blue collar, does everything that's asked, whether it's pass protection, catching the ball out of the backfield. But, he's a guy that people need to account for.
And Coach, you mentioned being out there for a lot of plays. What was it like, for this team to get that experience early on in the season? And how do you think it'll help to benefit this team going forward?
I don't think you benefit at all by playing over 100 plays defensively. Nothing good comes out of that. Obviously, a bunch of injuries and points and yards. But, whenever you have an opportunity to play up, whether it's an FBS school, I think it's good. You'll never beat those teams unless you're playing, first and foremost. So, we can't be scared to schedule those teams because, like I said, if you want to beat them, you got to play them. Secondly, I think it'll help. We play against, high level, that type of competition on that level. I think it'll help prepare us and see exactly where we are. They'll expose you if you have some kinks in your armor, and there's some things that we probably need to tighten up on. Obviously now we see that, but if you don't have something right, they're going to expose you. And they just showed us some things that we have to get corrected by the following week.
Coach, we talked about the offensive side a little bit. Let's talk a bit about the defense. 2 interceptions, one of them a 94-yard return. What'd you see from the defensive unit?
With a 94-yard return, I wish he would have gone 96. So he would have scored. We got tackled, I think, on the 2. I thought there were a lot of positives to pull from the game. I thought for the first 27 minutes, we played outstanding on defense. I think the last 2 minutes before the half, we gave up, 2 bonehead plays. And then coming out in the second half, I thought we continued to fight and battle back. But obviously, that many snaps on the field, we kind of got worn down late and, gave up some plays late. But, some things that we need to still work on as far as leveraging the football, knowing where my help is. I think we got to do a better job with getting after the passer. I don't think we had, I think we only had 1 sack this past weekend. So we've got to do a better job with our pass rush and leveraging the football. But overall, like I said, we put it behind us, but there were some bright, pieces that we did take away from the game.
Jonathan Duran alongside Eagles head football coach Trei Oliver. Coach, finally time to protect the nest. The Eagles coming home. Winston-Salem State coming to town. What have you seen from the Rams?
Well, what I saw isn't what scares me. It's the team I know that's coming in here. And I tell my guys, they're a good football team on film, but they're going to play 10 times faster than what you see right here. They're going to play 10 times harder. So, we have to be prepared. This is a good football team coming in here. I think they have a lot to prove. They play really, really hard. And the big thing about it, they're a veteran ball club. They're a much older team than we are. And they've been in some close games. They've been in dog fights. They've been in these rivalry games before, where we have a lot of guys that, have never experienced this. So our guys have to be ready to play as soon as that ball is kicked off.
Coach, finally coming back home. I mean, for you, you've had the full season playing here at O'Kelly-Riddick Stadium, but, there's got to be a few emotions for you to be able to come back here after a year layoff. How much are you looking forward to finally being able to be back on familiar sidelines here?
Man, I love that place. I love that stadium, the nest. I mean, I never take it for granted. Whenever I go out there for practice, I thank God every day I had the opportunity to still walk on that field. And these young men, I try to convey that to them. This is an opportunity not just for us to play again, but for us to play in front of our home fans, the students, the city of Durham, the alumni, the fans. So we don't take that lightly. And we're excited, very excited to be able to play back at home. We're expecting to be an outstanding crowd out there. And I know our student section will be rocking. I do know that. So our guys are excited, and it's our responsibility. We just got our team meeting. I told them it's our responsibility to put on a show for the people. And we have to give the people what they paid to see.
All right, Coach, the fans are coming out to see a win. What's it going to take for the Eagles to get it done?
First and foremost, we have to always protect the football, win the kicking game. And we have to be able to control the line of scrimmage. I think that's going to be huge for us. Now, they're big up front, but we have to be able to run the football and stop the run up front. So those are the keys to the game.
Coach, welcome home. Thanks for your time.
Good to be back.
That's head coach Trei Oliver. Now let's go ahead to our keys to the game. Let's start on the offensive side with our offensive coordinator, Matt Leone. We'll get to hear from him, talk about how the Eagles were able to get the job done offensively in the middle third of the game, or the middle 8, as they call it, the last 4 minutes of the first half and the first 4 of the second half. And that's where North Carolina Central got their connection from Davius Richard to Mookie Collier. But here's Coach Leone as he talks about last week against Marshall and looks ahead against the Rams. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jonathan, for having me.
All right, Coach. Well, 2 games into the season, the Eagles are finally going to be coming home against Winston-Salem State coming up on Saturday. But Coach, let's go ahead and talk about this Marshall game for North Carolina Central. Davius Richard able to get the touchdown pass to Mookie Collier, which was a nice connection for Mookie being able to score in his home state and also where he was before. So before we actually jump into the game, let's talk about that real quick. What was the reaction like on the sideline when Mookie caught that pass?
Everybody was excited for him, just knowing that he was in his home state, in front of his family, and a place that he was previously as well. So his teammates, coaches, everybody was very excited for him to be able to get in the end zone for the Eagles.
Yeah, it was a great moment, really exciting to see. And Coach, it was a tough game for North Carolina Central against Marshall. I don't want to make light of it, but I mean, there were a lot of plays that were run. It was almost like, like summer getting ready for the fall. What was it like being out there so often running so many plays? And what was the team able to gain from being out there?
Jonathan, you broke up a little bit, lost some connection, but what I gathered was a lot of plays being ran. So it was great to be out there. We were in front of a nice big crowd there at Marshall, and the players, I thought for the most part responded very well. The stage wasn't too big for them. We just didn't get enough things rolling like we wanted to offensively. But the moment wasn't too big for our players. I thought they responded well. They fought till the very end. And, there's definitely things watching the film that we got to get corrected. The guys fought hard and had a good film session yesterday to make the corrections, and everybody is ready to get better this week.
Well, 2 games in, Coach, what are some of the things that you've learned about this team as you got the chance to see them come together playing for the first time since 2019, getting ready for the first home game now?
It's a resilient group. In times of adversity, you see the team really come together, and, they play for each other, and they love football. They love every part of it. It's easy to love playing in games, but the thing with football is there's a daily grind, and not everybody likes having to do the daily grind, what it takes to be a great football team. And these guys truly do. They work at it every day. They work hard in the classroom. And so we got a resilient group of young men that just does an outstanding job of coming to work every day and ready to improve and get better.
Jonathan Duran alongside Eagles offensive coordinator Matt Leone. Coach, North Carolina Central is getting ready for Winston-Salem State. What have you seen from the Rams?
The Rams are a good football team. They have rich tradition there, and watching. I'm just now diving heavy into their defensive scheme and what they do defensively, but when you turn the film on, they got a bunch of guys flying around the field. They like to, they're trying to get as many hats to the ball carrier as much as possible, and they got some good talent. They got some big guys up front. They're athletic in the secondary, so it's a good group of guys coming in here, but we'll be ready for them.
For those of you who are watching and listening to this, we usually do these interviews on Monday, so not quite as deep into game week. So, Coach, you might not have as much of an answer for this, but, after 2 long trips, 5 hours to Atlanta, 6 hours to Huntington, what's the mood like around the program as you realize, hey, we get to be in a familiar environment and finally get to protect the nest for the first time this year?
Yeah, I know the guys are excited because, when you look back to 2019 was the last opportunity these guys had to play in front of their home crowd and protect the nest. So I know everybody's excited to do that. Like you mentioned, Jonathan, it was 2 good trips, but they're long bus drives. So it's nice not to have to load the bus on a Thursday or Friday this week and get to play at home in front of our home crowd.
All right, Coach, what are the keys for this Eagle offense to be successful against Winston-Salem State?
We got to start fast and get in a rhythm. This last week we never really felt like we got in an offensive rhythm, so that's going to be vital this week. Establish the running game and and be able to, run the football in between the tackles. That's going to be key to our success this week. And then just stack positive plays. We always talk about it as an offensive group. When you stack positive plays, those plays turn into first downs, and first downs turn into touchdowns. And so just continue to stay in front of the chains, but stack those positive plays and have sustainable drives that lead to touchdowns. And those would be the 3 keys to victory for this week.
Coach, thank you very much for your time. Good luck.
Thank you, Jonathan. Go Eagles.
That's offensive coordinator Matt Leone. Now let's flip to the defensive side to Coach Juan Navarro. The Eagles with 2 interceptions last week, one from the goal line, the other one 94 yards the opposite way to the 6-yard line. The Eagles with the fumble recovery in week 0, a punt return touchdown. So the defense really stepping up, especially against the pass, and they're going to have to do so again today against Winston-Salem State. But here's Coach Navarro as he breaks it down.
Coach, good to see you again.
Great seeing you. Thank you again for having me.
All right, Coach. Well, North Carolina Central is finally getting ready for its first home game of the year against Winston-Salem State. Last time the Eagles played their first true road game against Marshall. And, Coach, it was a tough one for the Eagles. But, as coaches, I know you always say there's things that can be gained from each game. So what did you see from the Eagles against the Thundering Herd?
I think the positive things are that, one, our kids love football and our kids can respond to football. I think we came out and you saw we were able to, again, put our hands in our face, in at the line of scrimmage. We were able to do those things, at least how I felt for the first half of that game. We were able to make calls, make corrections with our guys, and they were able to go out there and obviously execute it. We did miss some plays. There were some explosive plays that we missed on, just as far as his eyes. And then once they started getting us into some level, deeper into our depth, that's when we started to see some of the changes and stuff like that. But what I got from our kids love football. Our kids are going to work hard and give effort, and they're learning a lot of football, which again is going to serve well in the later part of the season.
Week 0 rather than week 1 against Alcorn State in the MEAC-SWAC Challenge. Punt return, you get a forced fumble and a fumble recovery. Here against Marshall, 2 interceptions. One of them goes for 96 yards. The secondary really stepped up against a team that was swinging the ball around.
Mm-hmm. It's what, like I said, those guys, I think Coach Dan does a great job. Coach Greenwood do a tremendous job just prepping them up. But Coach Sewell, who's our defensive grad assistant, paints a lot of pictures for them. You hear me talk about pictures a lot all the time. And it's just hey, knowing your leverage, knowing where to align, and knowing where to put your eyes. And again, if we can continue to do that, we'll give ourselves at least a chance from a defensive standpoint to again extend the game in terms of giving the offense back the ball and then giving them the opportunity to score.
2 games gone by, 3 weeks gone by. North Carolina Central getting ready for its first home game of the year. And Coach, where have you seen this defense improve from game to game?
You know what? I think the communication's gotten better. I think the effort is established. I think the trust level overall, and I'm just talking about the schematic part of it, and then the trust level in one another is coming. We did have some new guys. You have some of those guys that are playing that weren't playing up there. You like Matt Stevens that's been removed since the 2019 season. You have a guy like Cole that's never like a position. If you really go look at that linebacker position in particular, I talk about them. They're the middle ground of the defense. And when you talk about them, they are new. I mean, they're outside of Noah Rainbow Douglas. They are new. So I think the communication was important because it melts the front and the back end together. So when you put those things together, I think that's what I'm seeing now. The communication and the understanding of where each other fits, and how their role impacts the back end or the front end. I think that's where I really seen them come along.
Coach, the storyline today is, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since the Eagles have been home. I mean, we played 2 games away from home, haven't played it here since 2019, and we're playing Winston-Salem State for the first time in 11 years. So, Coach, what have you seen for the Rams while getting ready for this game?
You know what? The Rams are a tough team. And I'm not just, making up coaches speak. I firmly believe they're a very tough team. I think they run a scheme that suits their skill set. You know, they like to run the ball sideways. They like to get their dynamic playmakers in space. You know, they like to put them out, and they like to make sure that people are able to make tackles on them. You know, I think their guys are smaller skill players, but they can run. They can cut off. They can cut off routes. They can extend the field. So again, I think they're going to play a space game with us, knowing that again they can open us up a little bit. That they can again try to get us in space, make us tackle people in the open space, and then they're going to do what they do. And here's the one thing is they're going to do what they do in the sense of their base plays. But everything else, they're going to throw everything at us. They're going to throw draws. They're going to throw screens. They're going to throw tricks. Because in reality, I mean, that's what they should do. You know, and then they'll slow down the game a little bit, in my opinion. I think they'll huddle a little more. They're a huddle team, so they'll try to take some of those, you know, times and try to take shots and, you know, try to position themselves to have a very good presence in that entire game. So we have not at all. I have not seen something where you're like, no, we're gonna, you know, this is just another game. It's not. It's a very important game. It's important for the state of North Carolina. It's important for NCCU, and it's important for NCCU defense and NCCU period, you know, because it's the next one. And every time we get to step on the field, we represent our community. We represent Durham. We represent our student body. We represent anybody. So there's nothing that's taken lightly.
All right, Coach. Well, you're talking about representing Durham and representing the student body. Get to do it at home for the first time since 2019. Personally, Coach, how excited are you to return to the Nest?
You know, it's great because I've always heard about the rivalry between Winston-Salem State and what NCCU had, you know, and again, I like good football environments. I think when you love football, the environment is part of it. You know, it's like we work all week, and this is like game day, not only for the players, but for the coaches. You know, I'm excited to be back at home, excited to have our people see our kids. Our kids have worked so hard, have endured so many things that I want our people to see our kids and how hard they've worked, you know. And when I say our people, it's our community, our fans, everybody that supports our Eagles.
All right, Coach. Well, as the Eagles get ready for the Rams, what are the defensive keys for the Eagles to be successful?
Number one, I'm always going to tell you what I tell the kids on Tuesday in terms of the base. The base. Number one is to own your discipline. All right. And we say own your discipline. We have to make sure that, again, we are disciplined in our role within the scheme of the defense, that we're disciplined within the roles that we have during the course of the game. Second thing, we want to own our eyes, over communicate, because again, we're going to get so many different pictures and eyewash. We're going to have to over communicate. And at the end of the day, you have to respect your opponent. You have to respect your opponent because it is considered a rivalry. There is some high tension, some high octane going on within people's blood. So we have to keep a level head. We don't want a penalty. We don't want some late shoving. We don't want anything like that to extend drives or take away drives from what we do. You know, so those are our 4 keys overall for what we have for this game. Number 1, like I said, own your discipline. Number 2, own your eyes. Number 3, over communicate. And number 4, you go ahead and respect your opponent at all times.
Coach, thank you for your time. Welcome home.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
And those are your keys to the game. Already in the show, you heard from our head coach, Trei Oliver, and our offensive coordinator, Matt Leone, and you just heard from defensive coordinator, Juan Navarro. Well, it's just about a full slate of games for the MEAC today. The Truth and Service Classic already underway, kicked off around about noon as we're recording our pregame show. It is Hampton in the lead, 7-0 over the Bison up at Audi Field in our nation's capital. We have a 1 o'clock kickoff, so by the time this goes live, this game will be in action in between Morgan State and Sacred Heart up in Fairfield, Connecticut. Kicking off the same time as the Eagles, it's Norfolk State hosting Elizabeth City State. It's a rivalry that goes back quite a few years as well. 7:30 after the Eagles, it's Delaware State out in Johnson City, Tennessee, as they visit the Buccaneers of East Tennessee State. And the nightcap, 8 o'clock tonight, it's the Bulldogs of South Carolina State visiting New Mexico State. All of those games you can follow on ESPN.com. and the Elizabeth City State, Norfolk State game, as well as the Delaware State East Tennessee State game will be on ESPN+, just like this broadcast between the Eagles and the Rams. So glad that you could join us for our Eagles pregame show here from the NCCU Sports Network studio. 6 o'clock is our kickoff time. Should be 82 degrees and partly cloudy here in the Bull City. And the Eagles will be getting ready to protect the nest against Winston-Salem State. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tonight on ESPN Plus as the Eagles host Winston-Salem State. I'm Jonathan Duran. Hope you have a great afternoon.